I think it's no secret by now that I like hard games. Pause. My channel icon is Cuphead, for crying out loud. Now, when I'm not subjecting myself to games that subject me to untold agony, I'm on the hunt for games that'll subject me to untold agony. So you can imagine how I felt when I found this little piranha of a game. I've played Ninja Gaiden games before. I've played brutal platformers before. And a game that combines both sounded like it was right up my alley. After getting absolutely destroyed by enemies that don't care about personal space, platforming that give any NES player PTSD flashbacks, and bosses that you need the Sharingan just to avoid their attacks, I finally beat it. Then I played it again. I swear I'm not a masochist. So let me tell you why Ragebound's combat is insane, while the level design wants you dead, why the bosses are absolutely unhinged, and why I keep coming back for more punishment. So the combat is basically the same as a lot of NES games. Enemies die on one hit, kinda like me when I get bit by a mosquito, and because you're a badass ninja, you get multiple hits before you go down. This seems pretty cool at first, but anyone who's ever played an NES game knows you can still get screwed in other ways. I wasn't sure what I was expecting at first when I played the first stage. I had my sword and my Super Mario jump parry, which I didn't think I'd need since I was just gonna kill everything. Then everything shows up and you're swarmed like a celebrity in public. Enemies for some reason all want to get up close and personal, even though some of them can fly. And since you take collision damage in this game, it shouldn't be hard to see why, aside from the clear harassment, this is a bad thing. Then there's the elites who just casually break the rules and can take multiple hits before going down. You can charge your attacks to beat them quickly, but that costs some health, literally giving yourself damage over time. There's also the option of stealing a charge from a regular enemy, but you'll have about 3 seconds to get that hit in before you lose it, which is a perfectly respectable amount of time to have. And yeah, I died a lot to figure this out. I can't even say how long I spent just dying in this game. I know how long, I just can't say it because it's too embarrassing. I kept trying to do one thing at a time, slash everything while standing still and wait for an opening. Found out pretty quickly that that's a death sentence. Then I realized I'm not supposed to be still, I'm supposed to be moving. The whole point of the game is movement. That's why parry is a jump, to keep you mobile. When that clicks, so does everything else. The combat looks simple on the surface, run, jump, slash. But underneath it's a constant flow of split-second decisions, when to charge, when to dodge, when to sacrifice health for a kill. Ragebound's combat is fast, brutal, and unforgiving, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. The level design in Ragebound looks simple enough on paper. Get from point A to point B with a boss waiting at the end of each stage. You can also get collectibles scattered around if you want them. You'd think the levels shouldn't be too hard since they're not very complex, right? Well, you'd be dead wrong, as in back to square one dead. Spikes on the walls and ceilings you'll have to climb to get through, pits on the floors just waiting to swallow you whole, pause. Statues that shoot fire, which get upgraded to automatic firing drones, are just some of the surprises that you'll find. But then the game takes it a step further by making the enemies part of the level design too. You'll have specific enemies placed in very specific places, all just to mess up your landing after a jump or to make sure you don't make it over a certain cliff. And with enemies already being as annoying as they are, this makes running away just as hard as fighting them all off. Stage 4-1 is the game's way of throwing you a pop quiz about everything you've learned up to this point. Almost every enemy has a projectile attack, and most of them are on ledges and platforms, basically anywhere you'll just have to land. You're midair and that's when they fire, and if you can't parry in time, you just take the hit and get swarmed. Then you might get lucky, not, and there's an elite there instead, holding a shield. This isn't the first stage where you'll find an elite with a shield, but because of where they're placed, you'll definitely remember this stage more than the others. After almost pulling my hair out, I realized that even though you can't parry off every single projectile or trap, you can parry off most of them for extra airtime. I haven't seen a blend of fighting and platforming like this before. Most platformers usually keep them separate. Ragebound makes you do both at the same time, and honestly, more games should. Let me know in the comments if there are any other games like this. I'd love to play them. I wasn't sure what I was expecting from the boss fights. I didn't really have that much time to think about it while I was getting wrecked by everything else. I figured I'd seen the worst of it getting through the stage alone, so the bosses shouldn't be a problem. Then I met the first one, and the only thing I have to say is back to square one. The first boss by himself wasn't hair-pulling levels of difficult, but what set the fight over the edge for me was the fact that platforming was needed here too. He had some attacks that you had to make sure you weren't in front of one way or another. He even had a fire breath that covered more than half the screen, roasting me in more ways than one. And that's basically the design for all the bosses. Fighting them is pretty much just half the battle, while the other half is making sure you don't get screwed over by the stage you're fighting in. Some of them can even make the stage dangerous themselves, like Obsidian. But the one boss that I was willing to break something over so much was Rivashi. Sorry if I'm butchering these names. She's the boss of stage 2-1 and 2-2. Of all the bosses in this game, she has to be one of the most annoying to fight herself. One of her main attacks is lightning, just straight up lightning. She can also make these pillars that shoot lightning themselves while she dashes around the screen doing her best Wolverine impression. I died so many times before I could get her health bar down to just half. Eventually I stopped trying to dodge everything and started using her attacks as movement tools. Same lesson as before, just applied to a boss instead of a stage. Still brutal, but manageable. Now even though it sounds like I'd rather be doing literally anything else than fighting these guys, I really like these kind of boss fights. They're a lot like Cuphead's approach to boss fights, where you have to watch out for so many other things on your screen aside from what's trying to kill you. Definitely nails the feeling of being a ninja with the way you'll be moving. So after everything I just talked about, you'd think I dropped the game as soon as I was done with it, but I didn't. I played it again. The reason? Because it's fair. When I die in Ragebound, it doesn't feel unnerving or unfair at all. I know exactly why I died. Whether I mistimed the jump or stood still for too long, the game's never the problem. It's me. And if I'm the problem, then I can fix it. It's also not very punishing when it comes to dying, aside from the risk of getting carpal tunnel. You don't lose anything except time, and you have checkpoints and stages, so you're not always back to square one. And it's got that classic NES feel down to a T. Brutally difficult but fair enough that you never really want to quit. Everything about it is tough enough on its own already, but the game connects them all together without compromising the fun. I have a kind of nostalgic feeling when I'm playing Ragebound, like when I was a kid playing The Lion King on the NES. Granted, I never beat that game, but I know I could do it if I just kept trying, and that's the exact same feeling I get in Ragebound, except this time I proved myself right. The game's pretty short, you can beat it in about 6 hours, but it packs more fun and challenge in those 6 hours than most games do in 60. Couldn't have asked for a better Ninja Gaiden-style platformer. Now if you excuse me, I've got a game to get back to. If you're a fan of hard action platformers, you can't go wrong with Ragebound. It's short, it's tough, and you will die a lot, but it's fair, and that makes all the difference. Let me know in the comments if you've played it. I want to know what boss gave you the most trouble. Thanks for watching and good luck on your playthroughs. Peace.